The Kremlin is now confirming what President Trump said yesterday, that he will be speaking on the phone tomorrow with Russian President Vladimir Putin. And this call is coming as negotiators from Washington, Moscow, and Kyiv have been working to end Russia's war in Ukraine. Overnight, President Trump revealed some of the key sticking points that still need to be hammered out before a peace agreement is reached.
We'll, be talking about land. It's a lot of land. It's a lot different than it was before the wars, And we'll be talking about land. We'll be talking about power plants. Because that's up, it's a big question. We're already talking about that, dividing up certain assets. Yeah, and they've been working on that.
I'm joined now by former U.S. Ambassador to the European Union during President Trump's first term, Gordon Sondland. Ambassador, thank you so much for being with us. And I wonder what you're looking for in this call tomorrow, what the president should be emphasizing, and maybe any concerns about what he may be emphasizing.
I think that this call is going to be the culmination of a lot of negotiations that have gone on quietly with Steve Witkoff and others. And I think now that essentially Zelensky has been put in a box and he has a deal, I think the Trump administration feels more comfortable in keeping him sort of up to date on what's going on with Putin, because at the end of the day, there is no deal that's worth doing if it's not a locked-in deal that has security guarantees. Because once Putin gets whatever he's going to get out of this deal, whether it's part of the 18% of the country he's already taken, or a power plant, or a border moved, the deal has to be he doesn't get any more. That's it, forever.
What does that look like in terms of a security guarantee that would actually deter Putin from doing what he has done over and over again?
Well, the first thing it entails is boots on the ground, and hopefully not our boots on the ground. This is now the time for the Europeans to shine and to put their people in a peacekeeping position, essentially with an indemnification from us, that if there were some kind of an overwhelming invasion, that we would back them up. But even a more important security guarantee is an enormous amount of U.S. investment in Russia. Not just on the minerals, but all kinds of things.
You mean Ukraine?
I'm sorry, did
yes.
I say, yeah, did I say
Well,
Russia?
These days, I can't be sure, so I just want to make sure you meant Ukraine.
Thanks for waking me up. In Ukraine. And when Putin realizes that we have thousands of Americans there doing business and doing research and doing mining and making banking deals, he knows that any kind of a strike or an invasion attempt is a direct attack on us. That's a whole different can of worms.
So what makes you think Putin would agree to European boots on the ground, considering his reticence, the reticence of Russian officials to accept anything like that?
He doesn't have a choice. He's very depleted in terms of people and in terms of materiel. If he wants to keep fighting and he tells Trump to piss off, then what Trump is going to do is start surging weapons back, but this time without the kinds of restrictions that the Biden administration put on Zelensky.
You, of all people, are well aware of the personal animus between Zelensky and Trump. This has been long running, and sort of a bit of a, if I may say, bromance between Trump and Putin. He just seems to get along much better than him on a personal level. I don't think anyone would dispute that. Do you have any concerns about how that is going to factor into these negotiations?
I respectfully don't accept the premise that there's both of them, that there's a bromance and that there's animus.
Really?
Yes, I think you can attenuate both of those. I think with Zelensky, to be fair to Zelensky, Zelensky is fighting for an existential issue. It's binary. Either Ukraine exists or it doesn't. It becomes part of Russia. Those are the stakes for Zelensky. The stakes for Putin are, well, I had a swing and a miss. I'll take another shot at it later. But Russia continues to exist and survive. So there are very, very different dynamics going on here. And I think Trump was smart to sort of get the deal with Zelensky done first. Then he could pivot to Putin and say, dude, I've gotten you the best deal you're going to get, but you don't get another inch of Ukrainian land.
I have about 40 follow-up questions for you. However, we do have to go to the White House because the briefing is underway, and let's listen into what's happening there.